I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'm sure there'll be a few other people coming. First off, thank you guys so much for coming today.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. This is sort of, I think, the first step in beginning to lower your stress level a little bit with regard to the exam process. And so what this is not going to be is an install session. You guys you're more than capable of installing the software, although I heard a comment about it being hard to find. I'll talk about that for just a minute. But before I get started, if we haven't met before, I'm Ben Chapman. I'm the IT director here, Assistant Dean for Information Technology, blah, blah, blah. I live over there. Del Jackson, who is our Chief Support Guru, is over there. We're on the 5th floor of the library, in case you haven't found us yet. You get off the elevator, you look across the way, and you'll see our student workers, or you'll see Nico Johnson, who also works with us. Or you'll see a little bell that came from Richard's Variety Store, and you can ring it if no one is there. We like hearing the bell. We'll come running out. We'll take care of you. This document that I'm reading off of is a Google Doc. There's a link there. You can copy it. You can access it. http://bit.ly/H_N_Q_X XL. So a little bit.ly link. If you want to get back to this document, I may email it out to the other folks. I may not. You guys may be ahead of me. We're recording this, and we'll share that also with the other people. That's right. Everybody turn. Right? Of course, now that you've turned and put your face on the camera, I have to get a release from you. It was okay as long as it was just the back of your head. Okay.
My release.
So, how to get the exam software? Visit my.law.emory.edu, which is one of many generations of our intranet currently floating around. It will all be consolidated and made more wonderful in time for your 3rd year. The marketing communications folks are working away at that. So you visit my.law.emory.edu, click on the drop-down. There's a little drop-down there, Information Technology. Go to Information Technology. The Electronic Bluebook, EBB, the Electronic Bluebook instructions generally are at the top of our FAQ. Our FAQ, in case you wondered about the ordering, it's based on popularity. It's based on the number of clicks. So generally speaking, EBB is at the top of the list, but it may occasionally drift up and down depending on what law journal folks are up to. Follow the instructions, download the software, install it, test it. Okay, it's really easy to test, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to do a little bit of a demo of it here in just a minute, and I'll show you some ways that you can test it. There's a couple of just basic things you need to know. You must connect to Emory Unplugged. I'm going to go, this is not technical, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about that, because I think we confuse the heck out of people when we talk about, oh, you need to be online, and then they get wigged out because they know they're not online, and things get confusing. Here's the deal. You're going to be taking, let's say, 4 exams using EBB, or 3, or how many of them. In the software, you're going to pick from a drop-down list that shows every class in the building. How does the software know what classes we're offering? It connects to our network and it downloads an updated list of the classes. So one time, like when you test the software, at least that very first time it needs to get online to get the list of the classes. When you're sitting next to someone at the beginning of an exam and they go, there are no classes. Okay, that's a sign that they've never connected it to the network ever. There's a fallback. We have lots of ways that you can recover from that. You type in what you think the name of the class might be, and then Del or I or someone has to spend some time trying to find that exam and get it to the right place. Okay? If you pick from the drop down, everything happens magically and things get to your faculty member, you don't get one of these emails saying we couldn't locate your exam, could you come see us, that kind of thing. So I just want to make that clear. But because EBB is just a blank sheet of paper, or the digital equivalent of a blank sheet of paper, if something bad happens and you can't get online the day of your exam, don't panic. Everything's okay. It's just a blank sheet of paper. Does that all make sense? It doesn't have to be talking to us. Now, you get a couple of benefits if you are online. One of them is about every 10 minutes, it makes an extra backup and stores it on the server. Okay? So that's a nice thing if you happen to be online. And when we're talking about online, we're talking about Emory Unplugged. Is every one of you got your computer connected to Emory Unplugged, not Emory Guest? Oh, you have no idea? Okay. So you should look and see in the lower right-hand corner, when you look at like the little thing that looks like bars that are vertical, in the lower right-hand corner, verify that you're connected to Emory Unplugged.
Just put your cursor over it.
Yeah, and it'll show you.
Show up like Emory Unplugged in that. We'll work on it.
It's one of those things you just need to sort of get worked out eventually. So when you finish the exam, you need to be connected to the network because we need to copy the exam up to the network. But if you're not connected to the network, it's not the end of the world. So let me go back to my outline and then we'll hit that again. I just want to give you some background. Things you need to know. Okay, you've got to get the Emory Unplugged. That's what we just talked about. That's primarily so that you can download the latest list of classes in case we make any last-minute changes as far as the name of class. Secondly, you must know your exam ID. All right, remember, law schools are obsessed with anonymity, something every other school gave up on some years ago. We care about it a whole lot. So you've got a 3-digit or 4-digit exam number. Are they 3 digits this year, 4 digits? You haven't gotten them yet. Don't panic. It's all good. That's fine. You will be getting a number from the registrar. So you're going to keep an eye out for this number. It is not your MPOL ID, your big 7-digit number. It's not your net ID. Okay? It's a random number that you're going to get from the registrar's office. And you need that number for your exams. Okay? And when I demo the software in a second, you'll see how that gets used. That number is the very first thing you're going to enter. And here's the other thing about it. Because I don't know your name, and Dell doesn't know your name when you're taking the exam, the number is the only way we have to match a class or an exam file back up to you. So the number becomes very important, right? That makes sense? All right. It's going to be embedded in the exam. There will be a header at the top of every exam that'll say, you know, this exam was written by 321, or this exam was written by 768. And behind the scenes, an administrative person will match up 321 and your name. But your faculty member won't know who you are when they're grading the exam. That means that this number becomes really important. And in some other software packages, because you guys are all transfers, in some other software packages, you would have entered your name, and it would have kind of supplied you with an exam. We don't do it that way here. We're using electronic Bluebook has lots of advantages, but the best advantage, as far as I'm concerned, are the fact that it makes backups all the time. And the second big advantage is its simplicity. Okay, but the trade-off there is you guys are responsible for a little bit more. Got to know that number. The other thing we see is, especially, this seems to happen more with first-year students, but it could happen with anyone. You'll get a number embedded in your head. It is not your exam number. It's some other number. It came to you at about 4 in the morning, and you decided, this is my exam number, and you are wrong. It is not. When you get the exam number from the registrar, write it down on a sheet of paper. We used to actually hand them out on note cards, which made a lot of sense. We don't do that anymore. It'll be emailed to you. But seriously, write it down on a note card and refer to it. Don't trust your sleep-deprived brain. It'll be like doing some UCC section as your exam number. All right, so we need that. Write it down. all exams are what EBB calls blocked. Okay, there are two choices in EBB land. And again, this will be a little bit clearer when I demo it in just a second. There's blocked and there's unblocked. Think open book, or I'm sorry, think closed book and open book. So all exams in EBB are blocked. Choose the blocked button or checkbox. Most exams have one question, and let me explain that because it's counterintuitive. Remember, EBB is just a giant scrolling white sheet of paper. So what's going to happen? The text of the question, the exam questions, is not going to be in EBB. You're going to get a sheet from your instructor, and it might have 5 questions. But he will or she will have told you, just choose one in EBB. That just means they want to see one great big long printout, and you're going to be told by the instructor, not by IT. I did not tell you how to do this. The instructor will tell you, just put question 1, answer, question 2, answer, question 3. You will run across a few instructors who like to break it out. Just pay attention. If they tell you that there are 3 questions, you're supposed to put 3 in the EBB software, put 3 in the EBB software. At all times, whatever the instructor says overrides anything that you might have heard from anyone else, right? And the reason for that, by the way, is the software is very nice in that it will keep word counts. And we have a few instructors who like to have 3 500-word answers and things like that. And so they'll ask you to actually put 3 separate questions in. If you do that, it will appear in the software as 3 separate tabs, which is nice because you can flip back and forth, between the questions. But it also means you've got to focus a little bit, make sure you're in the right one when you're answering. The exam gets saved locally about every minute. The backup is encrypted. Another copy gets saved about every 10 minutes to the network if you're on the network. When you exit the software, it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to exit? You say yes. It's going to immediately, automatically try to upload the exam. If it succeeds, you will get a green screen. If it fails, you will get a red screen. This is fine. We should have chosen another color, but we wanted to make sure, especially for red, green, colorblind people. There's another thing, by the way. People who are sleep deprived often can't tell us whether they saw a green screen or not. The entire screen is going to turn green. Very green. But we've seen that over and over again. I don't know. So just don't worry about it. It just means it didn't make it to the server. There's still multiple copies on your local hard drive, so everything's good. Some instructions will pop up in the software telling you how to navigate to the exam file and try again. Even if you can't get that to work, you can go get a cup of coffee, sit down somewhere for a minute, try again using the link that I've included in these instructions and that we've got up on our website and that we'll share out again. So you can also, by the way, you can come to IT, but remember there are 3 of us, there are 954 of you, so you may be standing in line for a little bit. Plus it's a tense area during the exam. If your computer crashes, generally this is what people want to know about. What's going to happen if my computer crashes? And I heard this young lady talking about this experience at another school. If your computer crashes during the middle of the exam, the official position is that you close your computer and you come to the front of the class where we will have a stack of blue books, and you pick up a blue book and you begin writing. We know that that's anathema to many of you, and you just can't imagine handwriting an exam. So there is another option. You can reboot your computer. You can launch EBB again. It will ask for something called the recovery password or the proctor password. It's just Emory, all lowercase. If everything is lined up perfectly, you'll go back into the exam within a minute of where you were before, and you can continue writing. It is entirely up to you which direction you go. You get no extra time if there's a computer problem. Okay? 0. So I just want everyone to be aware of that. We also have a few people every semester who, in a panic, want to go find their instructor on the theory that the instructor can fix this. Don't do that, because of course that throws a wrench in our anonymity regime, and they don't know what to do for you. They actually can't fix it. That's just not their job. So don't waste that time, because you need that time, right? Just if you're not comfortable trying to reboot, just close the computer, grab a Bluebook, it'll be okay. Start handwriting. All right, no extra time, don't talk to faculty. Here are a couple of extra things. There is spell check. There is a word count. You can copy and paste. You cannot copy and paste from outside of the software. Even if you're in a situation where someone has said, open book, I don't care what that IT guy said, unblocked, I want it open. All right, you still can't copy and paste from outside of the software. The best way to get comfortable with that in your own mind, if you've got open book classes, is to do some testing. What can you do? What can't you do? Okay, can I browse the web and still keep it open? I don't know. Talk to your instructor. We'd rather have those issues come up earlier rather than later. What a lot of them don't understand is that your outline may be on your computer, and you may have this idea you're going to be able to refer to the digital outline while you're doing the exam. Their expectation is that you have a printed outline and printed note cards and a tagged up book, and you're going to be referring to that, even for an open book exam. So you need to clarify, take ownership of that, clarify that with the instructor if you've got any questions. It's not something we can help you with. If you're a Mac user or PC user, the software is very similar, but it is not identical. Don't freak out if you happen to be comparing notes. I mean, they're different operating systems, and so they look slightly different. But both Macs and PCs are supported. Linux machines are not supported. Chromebooks are not supported. iPads are not supported. It needs to be traditional, full-blown laptop. The number one reason we have for computer crashes during the middle of an exam is that you have plugged your power adapter in, but you haven't triple checked that the power plug was live and that you've got a solid connection. And so what happens is about 2 hours into the exam, the machine just dies. And that's a source of a lot of panic. If you're fortunate, you've got an adapter that has a little green light. Whoa, interesting. Did you not normally work?
It's working.
Okay. Oh, right, sorry. I'm old and blind. Okay, if you stare directly at it, it's green. But you can save yourself a lot of grief just by double checking that, or by double checking the little icon, is the machine being charged? And share that tip with your friends. You'll make a new friend. Because that's the number one reason for a crash. We've been using this software for 6, 7 years, something like that, Bill. We have not lost an exam yet. I will admit we had to pay to send someone's hard drive out. Doesn't mean we're going to pay to send yours out. That was a special situation. But we haven't lost an exam yet. In the worst possible situation, you may get an email from the registrar saying something happened, can't locate your exam, come see us, and we will get it worked out. We are not trying to add to your stress during this process. So all we need from you, if possible, is a little bit of patience while we sort things out. The more practice you do, the better. If you're doing practice exams, there was something I just kind of rushed past up here. Choose IT as the test class rather than one of your real classes. It's not the end of the world if you use one of your real classes. It's not like you only get one chance, but it's confusing. You will wonder why there's a 10-word exam in there. And let's see what else we've got. Oh, if you don't trust your laptop, or if your laptop experiences a sudden technical problem right as exams come up, Office of Student Engagement is where you go to reserve a laptop in our mobile lab that we set up. We'll have 10 Dells running Windows 7 and the current version of the exam software in there. And but because we do have a little bit of demand for them, you need to sign up for them. So that's in Dean Brokaw's office, or where do they sign up?
Outside.
Oh, that's on that table outside there, down that hallway. But that's who you would talk to. One thing just to be clear on, you cannot check out a laptop from somewhere. We don't have any laptops to check out for you to take exams on. We have that lab set up and configured for you. And that is all I can think of. Del, were there any big things I missed? What I wanted to do now was to do just a quick demo of what the software looks like, so that you can ask questions if there are things you haven't seen. All right, so this will be more important to you next year. You see this little bit down here where it says expires January 31, 2014. We get a new version of this software every semester. And so you will have to download and install it every semester. And they fix bugs, they update it for this thing and that thing. So just be aware of that. This is a quick way to double check that you've got the current software. Not a problem for you this semester, but something to be aware of. Blah, 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 blah. Y'all are like, yeah, whatever. I didn't read any of that, but okay. When I was talking before about a blocked exam and an unblocked exam, blocked is closed book, unblocked is open book. I'm going to do blocked. As soon as I click continue, by the way, if you attempt to run this software on a Windows PC running virtually inside a Mac or inside a Linux host or wherever you're running it, it will abort and tell you you cannot run this software on a virtual machine. Just something to be aware of. I think your question was about boot camp. You dual boot, right?
Yeah, I'm running Windows on Mac and Boot Camp.
Okay. Just as an FYI, or for the people, if somebody's listening to this recording later, we don't really support boot camp. We can't do that. I mean, we expect to support the native OS running on a piece of hardware. It will run on Boot Camp, because once you boot to Boot Camp, once you boot to Windows using Boot Camp, you are running a Windows computer. It's not a virtualized computer. But it is difficult for us to support that. That's just not a configuration we see all the time. So you do extra testing if you're going to go that route. And I hear what you're saying. You've got a piece of software that only runs in Windows that's very valuable, and so that's why I use Windows a lot. So I'm going to click blocked. All right. At this point is the exam number. So this is the number that I was telling you about that you're going to get from the registrar, that it sounds like you haven't seen just yet, but pay attention to the emails you get from the registrar. For testing, I'm just going to use 99999. Course and professor. We just finished up doing some practice exams for our first year classes. And so you'll see Torts Bailey, Torts Partlet, Torts Vandal, and software test IT. So that's the test. Professor is ELS IT, course is software test. This is an additional check for you because you will be looking at a list of about 60 exams. Just take an extra moment, double check that you've chosen the correct exam. So I'm going to go back to software test. By default, the number of essay questions is 1, as I was mentioning before. I'm going to leave it at the default because that's what you're going to see 99% of the time. If the instructor tells you differently, follow what the instructor tells you to do. Click Start on Proctor's instruction. Whenever they drop the checkered flag or whatever, off to the races. Is this correct? Yes. Okay. At this point, it says blocked. It shows me, this information along the left. You can see that I have a few little enhancements. I have a section symbol, a paragraph symbol, and that weird dot that I should know and don't know what that is, and the ability to do a little bit of formatting. All right. You can see word count 9, character count 50. There's a timer there. I can do this. Best essay ever. So let's just run it up a bit.
So you're just controlling, like control pasting and things of that sort?
I
Sure,
am.
normal.
Now I could do cut, copy, paste up here, but it's so much faster. And any of you who are getting ready to spend the rest of your lives working with words, will you learn how to use Control C, Control V, I'm sure. Command A selects all on the Mac, Command C, Command V. Those work the way you would expect them to. I can run a spell check, and apparently I got it right. I'll do it again. But one of the things that oof, terrible, unmapped, I don't know. One of the things that you may be able to see here is that spell check is not interactive. The goal is not to have you focused on changing on your spelling errors, right? The goal is to have you focus on an answer. And so spell check is something you're going to have to allocate some time for if that's something you're worried about. And just run it manually by clicking on spell. That all makes sense? Okay. Once you're done, and again, you may have a faculty member who says, I want you to start each answer on a new page. You see this here, new page. Pretty homely. Again, we don't want you focusing on fonts and all of that stuff. We don't do any of that really. But the key is to just or cancel it, get out of spell check. The key is to follow whatever your instructor says. There's a bonus thing down here in this corner. I don't know if you guys probably can't see that. It says battery 88%, and it says not charging because I'm not plugged in. But that's an extra check for you. And just get in the habit of glancing down there just to see that you are still connected and all of that. Again, you've got that timer. The timer it doesn't know when your exam is due, so it can't help with that. Plus makes the font larger, minus makes it smaller. These are some areas where things are slightly different in the Windows world as opposed to the Mac world. Okay. Any questions about this before I submit the exam? Yes, ma'am.
On timer, is there a setting where you can have like a little pop-up reminder to say,
That you had 10 minutes left or something like that? Unfortunately not. It would be terrific if it knew. See, it doesn't know anything about your exam. You would have to tell it, set a timer for 60 minutes, and you can't do that. So I think the timer functionality is kind of just minimally useful. I'm not sure that it's that helpful. The character count, word count is useful. We have a few faculty members who still want to talk about pages. No pages anymore. But anyway, word and character counts are provided. So let's say I'm going to finish the exam. By the way, if I click on shortcuts, you can see it does give you some tips if you don't remember those. Anyway, I'm going to finish the exam. By exiting, you won't be able to change any of the blah, 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 blah. Okay, this is all about the part where you accidentally click on finish exam because you're just so tired. You can always back out, right? You think of one more thing, you do return to exam. Okay? But let's say that I really do want to finish exam. Click down here, I'm going to do save and exit. So I want to point out a couple of things. First off, the entire screen turned green. So that's good. Secondly, it happens really quickly. You'd be surprised at the number of students we get who come up and see us and they're like, it just went so fast. I don't think you got it all. Well, remember, it's just text. And even though it's agony to write that long, it's a tiny amount of data. I mean, it's really a very small amount of data that's being uploaded. So that's fine. It's going to be this quick. And once you've seen that, you're done. And I would ask you, please don't come see us to get extra approval that it did upload correctly. We're so busy during this period with the red screen folks that we don't have time for that. So we're going to click OK. And then you're done. That's it. It's very anticlimactic. Things you want to do once you're done with exams, especially because, remember, the faculty members are going to be grading. They're not going to get to your exams before you head back to your hometown or wherever you're going for vacation. Do not reformat your hard drive. That would be a bad idea. Okay? Don't install a new operating system. There's data on your hard drive. So in the absolute worst case, the digital dog eats your exam on our server, we will need to get back to your computer. And every now and then we get people who are like, yeah, I got home, first thing I did was I sold my laptop. Please don't do that. It's not, it's, and they're not hiding the exams from you, by the way. They're in a documents folder. You won't be able to read them, but you can find them in the documents folder. It's EVB exams or something like that. And you can actually verify that they're there. Oops, wrong thing. Didn't mean to open that up. All right, so are there questions? Yes, ma'am.
So if we want to take a test exam, what exam number do we put in?
You can use anything you'd like.
Okay.
And the test exam thing, by the way, is in a perfect world, we would have some mechanism for decrypting your test exam and emailing it back to you so you could be 110% sure that it worked, but we don't. So you'll just have to go with the green screen. So play with it, choose a random number, stick with software test, IT, as the instructor and the course, and you'll be fine. If you accidentally choose a course, that's fine. We'll deal with that, But it's better if you can just use the test. Okay. The other thing that I would say, just as a general sort of computer hygiene thing, as you're getting ready for your exams, please polish up your backup strategy with regard to your outlines, your critical notes, any of those documents that you're working on. Use Dropbox. How many of you use Dropbox or something online to back up your data? I got one. I got two.
Everything's on Dropbox.
Everybody's on.
Everybody's on Dropbox. Okay, everybody's on Dropbox. That's good. But spread the gospel. Make sure that everyone knows. We really want you to have a backup. The Mac users probably are also using an external hard drive and are using Time Machine. PC users, there are plenty of external backup products. Just a thumb drive is good as well. Saving stuff up to Google Docs, all of those things. With regard to computer security, run your malware scans. Try to cut down on going to free software sites or wherever. And really think of this as your work computer for the next month and a half or 2 months or whatever. Because we do get a surprising number of people whose computers have developed problems right as they're going into exams. And it's all interconnected with being really busy and really tired, I think. And you forget to take care of the usual computer maintenance chores that you've got. Remember that Emory provides antivirus software for free for Macs and for PCs. We provide McAfee. So if you don't have any antivirus software at all, we do have that available. Sure.
Yeah, I have that now. And does it only work when you're connected to Unplug? Because it's never worked for me before until now. When I click scan now, it just says error, but now it's actually scanning. I didn't know if that...
It may be that it hadn't downloaded virus definitions, but it doesn't require you to be online.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It's working now. So.
I'm like a puppet. I look towards the back. Dell tells me what to say. It doesn't require you to be online.
Okay.
So it may have just needed to update some definitions. Okay. Well, thank you all very much. If any questions come up or if you need additional help, it's ben.chapman@emory.edu, ajac24@emory.edu, help.emory.edu. or come see us. And the earlier the better. You know, like everything else, we all get busy as we get into exams. All right?
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And now I'm just
I already like this.
Mr. Chapman,
Yes, ma'am.
will it only work if you deleted your exam